happened in terms of governance, politics, and we will be looking at that. And before I introduce my panel of experts, maybe we can just try and just look at some of the things that we will be looking at. The Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education is commencing today. My colleague Joseph Wahungu will bring us up to speed with exactly how the preparations and how the exams start, mostly beginning with the languages and also practical examinations today, and also music as among the first subjects today. And today we also have a number of petitions and court cases at the Milimani Law Courts, of which we will be headed to the courts as soon as they begin, beginning from the Gachagua State applications hearing for orders. Last week there were about 23 petitions and cases filed in regards to impeached Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua case. But since then, they have increased to a number around 30 cases, which will be heard today. And we'll be waiting to hear what the courts have to say in regards to his impeachment. We also have the affordable housing case. Remember, this is a process that has been challenged since day one. We'll be expecting a judgment in regards to that. Some petitioners had talked about the housing levy being unconstitutional, and adequate public participation wasn't carried out. And also we will be looking at the COP29 in our subsequent bulletin. My colleague Serafina Robi is in Colombia following up on that. And allow me now to introduce my panel of experts, beginning from my immediate left, when we have Sami Kipkemboi Meli, who is a political analyst and also a governance expert. Karibu sana bwana Meli.
Asante bwana Jua.
Just next to him, we have Dr. Benjamin Koskei. Daktari is a senior lecturer at Kenyatta University and also is a leadership and governance expert. These are the two gentlemen and brilliant mind who will help us put things into perspective. My name is Bentroy Njoe. Brian Muraru is our sign language interpreter on the bottom right of your screen. Remember, you can weigh in on this conversation via all our social media platforms as we are live. Gentlemen, karibu sana.
Asante sana.
First things first, we also had Mashujaa Day just 2 days ago. And the head of state led the country, and since the promulgation of the 2010 constitution, for the first time we didn't have a deputy president to welcome the head of state, of course, in light of the events that happened at the Senate last week. And he talked about a number of things. Maybe we can start with the obvious one and the theme of that day, which was affordable housing. And more or less, he really emphasized that the project, which already has been challenged in court, he said that the project is going to be realizing a lot of houses, and especially for Kenyans. Meli, I would like you to weigh in on the president's speech.
Thank you very much, Ben Troy. On the housing issue, I think the legality or the illegality of it, since it's a court issue, let's wait and see what will be ruled out. But my own personal opinion is, one, we need housing as urgently as possible. The slums around the city and any other towns in this country are actually increasing in numbers. More people are moving to urban areas than they are in the rural setting. So it will be shameful for one to fight a housing issue because I have been one person who is disappointed early in the morning. I'm an early riser. I make it to this city by around 5:30. And you see people sleeping under the expressway, wrapping themselves in some sacks to sleep there. That shows you there's a problem of housing in this country. My main issue now is the affordability of the same. Because if a house, for example, they are talking about a studio apartment, will go at around, let's say, 800 on the list. That is too high to be affordable for a common man. Even if you were to divide that for the next 20 years, it will mean somebody will be paying around 4,500 a month to achieve that. That is still expensive. For me, I would think of something lower that is affordable, because by the time I've once before, you know, people come from somewhere. I've lived in those slums before, and you pay even 200 for a mabati shelter, even 300, 500. There are such shelters there, and those are affordable for some of the people, especially people who do manual work. They go to industrial area, they are paid, let's say, 200, 300, 500 shillings a day. Those are wages. That's not a salary. So if you look at the same thing, this is a person who has earned 300, for example, comes along the way, picks some kerosene for 5 shillings or 20 shillings, because right now if you're looking at the kerosene retailing at over 100 shillings, that tells you for the least to use per day, perhaps 50 bob. From the 300, he's left with 250. He goes to a quarter sugar. That is again around 50 shillings or so. That goes, now that's 100, remaining 250 has to go for some cooking oil, some vegetable, some unga. At the end of the day, the 300 is not there. So if you were to ask this person to pay, let's say, 4,000 a month, this person cannot save to pay 4,000 a month for a house. So it should be more affordable. I think the person who is launching a case in court, it should be about the price, not about the housing. Because I've been lucky to visit even last week, the one that is going on in Kibra. I am seeing the other phase is almost complete, and I saw people being enumerated for phase C and D. They are even being told to leave so that that place is cleared for the next phase of the housing. I've been to South C, I've seen affordable housing going on. I've been to South B, I've seen them. I have been to Mukuru, Kwajenga, I have seen those houses, and actually they look beautiful. But the question is, how affordable are they to the common man? Because at the end of the day, will it be the normal one where the National Housing Corporation used to do it, and you find the same senior people are the ones buying the same houses?
Yes.
And how sustainable is this project? Is it enshrined in law such that if we have a new government coming 2027 or 2032, the same thing will go on? It will not die with William Ruto. I am seeing, for example, this BRT things that were to be put on Thika Road. Right now it has stalled because it was Uhuru Kenyatta's project. You are looking at some roads that have stalled because it was somebody's project. I wish that we have such anchored in law, such that the other person who is coming has no option but to continue with that project. Because if anything was to happen and this government goes home, that means the affordable housing project will not go on because it is this government's project. So those houses are going on, the housing projects are going on, but how informed are the people? Because I liked it being used as a theme in that in Mashujaa Day celebrations, because this is now about public information, letting the public know what is going on. Somebody was asking me and was asking weird questions, and I said, you don't know what is going on? Go to eCitizen, go to Boma Yangu, register yourself there, start saving if possible. Yes, and choose where you want your house to be. And this person was asking me funny questions. How sure am I that I'll get the house? Who will I see? I said, you don't need to see anyone. Yeah. It is already in eCitizen, every person's portal. And as they say, ignorance is no defense. Ignorance is no defense. But I'm getting a lot of propaganda that is going on online, and Kenyans are becoming gullible to propaganda that is online. Yet the same person selling propaganda online perhaps has registered themselves, perhaps is saving. At the end of the day, he will get a house and you will not get one.
And somebody can also, instead of going for the propaganda, somebody can actually go to the Boma Yangu and
you
get
can
all that.
go online to your eCitizen account, go under the National Housing, the Ministry of Lands and Housing. You will be able to see an app there about Boma Yangu. Get in, see what is there. Before you are lied to by other people who do not know what is going on, go inside that portal, see what is there. If you can't access it in your phone, go to a cyber cafe somewhere. Ask that person on cyber to help you see Boma Yangu. then you can come out with informed decisions. Otherwise, we are being sold to propaganda. At the end of the day, if those houses remain empty, it's because of our own ignorance. If those houses get the owners, because at the end of the day, kila ndege lazima ajivunie. Huwezi kungoja utafutiwe mdudu ndio uletewe. You are not, wewe si kinda bwana. Wewe ni binadamu, uko hapa Nairobi, uko wherever you are. Go to Boma Yangu first. Information is power.
All right.
Yes.
And Doc, picking from where Ngoni has left, the Boma Yangu and the affordable housing project is something that has been admired and also condemned in equal measure.
Yeah.
And I'm talking about condemnation because we have a case in court challenging it.
Yeah.
But looking at the theme of the day on Mashujaa Day, the president did indeed mention that not only is it going to, this is a project that's going to be giving a lot of Kenyans who are homeless homes, and even Kenyans who, like us, who can be able to purchase a house. He mentioned something about the jobs.
Yeah.
And let's be very honest, these houses are being built by our very own.
Yeah.
They're not being built by companies from outside. I would like you to weigh in on that as well.
Thank you, Ben, for the invite. And let me start by wishing all our candidates all the best in the upcoming exams. And to come to your question about Boma Yangu, I have a different view. And let me ask in Kiswahili, nani anataka nyumba? Ni swali langu tu, nani anataka nyumba? My brother here said that many people in Mukuru, Kwanjenga, Orogosho, they need houses. He went further to say that you need to go to the cyber and check on Boma Yangu. Can those people in Mukuru, Kwanjenga go to the cyber? What is the need of those people in Mukuru, Kwanjenga? Is it the house or food? It is food. Housing is good, but unajengea nani? Who has complained that he need a house? The president talked about, he's talking 90% about housing, bringing in the jobs. So his talk is about creating jobs, not providing housing. 90% of the speech of the president is creation of jobs. Ben, you have said clearly that people who are building these houses are locals. It is true. But what about the gender issue? Are women building these houses?
I've seen them.
The president talked about yesterday.
We have seen, we've even interviewed some who have been working on these projects as well.
But which percentage? 1%. 99% are men. So are you creating jobs for men? What about the women? Yeah, you can say wanatengeneza githeri na uji wanapeleka kwa site. But after that, whose house is this? Us in the employment sector, we are being deducted money. Even you. Are you assured that you are going to get a house? The president during Mashujaa Day talked about savings. Talked about Jemima Kwamboka. He has saved some money. Talked about some guys, a disability guy, person living with disability, saving. So you are saving so that you can buy a house. We are being deducted so that we build houses for other people. So whose house is this? Hii pesa yenye tunakatwa ili nyumba ijengwe, itakuwa yangu? Itakuwa yako? Nitapata aje nyumba? Those are some of the questions that the petitioners in court are asking themselves. In fact, the Uhuru Kenyatta model was better. You could see how you will get the house. But for this one, I don't see. I don't see how you are going to get
I
the
believe
house yourself.
from the petition that was filed in court, they are actually challenging a number of things, because actually what you said is contained in the petition exactly.
Yeah.
How am I going to get, and how can I even access all these people in Mukuru, in Kayava, who can be able to access the internet and follow the prompt and actually save for their house and get the house?
Yes.
Those are some of the questions that I'm quite sure that the legal minds in the High Court are going to be having. I actually don't envy them, because it's doomed if you do, doomed if you don't, because actually the project has already hit the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Ben Troy, I think Daktari is trying to be cagey and corny in how he is handling it. The basic human needs are food, shelter, and clothing. Food, shelter, and clothing. The government has decided to tackle food by empowering farmers through the subsidized fertilizer. Remember, we used to buy fertilizer at 7,000. If you go to commercial retailers of fertilizer, they are now selling at 7,000. But the one sold by government is 2,500. The other day, there was a tea cooperative that wanted to raise that amount to 3,250. But the president, in his speech during Mashujaa Day, reiterated and said the fertilizer will continue retailing at 2,500. That was an order under directive. Otherwise, if there is anybody who is thinking of selling that, should go the commercial way. But what the government is giving and government agencies must be 2,500. The government is handling the food part. The government cannot come here feeding us. The government cannot go around, but the county governments are trying to feed the children through the school feeding program. But at the end of the day, there is an issue with shelter. Yes, you may not need the house, but your son needs a house when he comes to college in Nairobi. Will you continue renting? Will you continue? You need a house. Yes. Instead of going to the commercialized houses that are out there, which are actually expensive, yes, outrightly expensive, 18 million, 20 million, 100 million, who will raise that to 20 million? The most expensive house I am seeing, a 3-bedroom most expensive house, is 2.5 million in the government affordable housing. Affordable housing is not for those slum dwellers alone. They are city dwellers who have been paying rent. There was a time I was calculating a rent of 20,000, yes, per month, multiplied by 12. Already you have paid a landlord 240,000. Times the years you spend in that city. For example, let's say you work for 25 years. How much would you have paid the landlord? Over 3, 4, 5 million. The government is just saying, practically, you would have owned a house in the city. It's not forcing anyone. But it is saying, and let us help these ones to pay. Because we are a country. We are one unified nation called Kenya. Your problem is my problem. We can't ignore, because we have a job. We are privileged that the few buying sugar, the few buying salt, the few buying matchsticks, and the 16% VAT going goes into Daktari's salary, and that salary, Daktari ataki guzwe ni yake. Yet it comes from the local man. That man running a posho mill is paying taxes. That man who is even, we pay taxes, even when you go shopping in a supermarket. At the end of the day, you get a receipt, VAT hapa chini. So umelipa salary ya Daktari. Daktari hataki salary yake iguzwe. I went to school, I studied, I became a doctor, I'm earning 200,000. Nobody should touch my money.
All right, let's hear from Daktari, because
it has the money has the roots where it came from, and it should go back to help the community.
And it's also good to mention that this program is not just being tried out here in Kenya. It's something that has been tried before. And maybe we would like to hear some of the benefits that will come from the housing project in your view, because indeed you have challenged a number of things, including the information, including who really need these houses. And you said indeed that is why we have raised some substantial questions in court, and we need some deliberations by the court. Tell us.
Thank you. Before I go there, let me ask Mr. Meli. I don't challenge the affordable housing, but tell me, how am I going to get the house? ask yourself, how are you going to get the house? That is the question that I'm asking. How are you going to get it? Now,
away from the information, away from
Anyway.
because there is some.
Yes.
But I totally concur that in terms of information, because
Yes.
not all Kenyans can be able to log in and go to
It is
Bomayangu
true.
and follow the prompts
Yes.
and save money and access a house. These are some of the issues that let's call them teething problems.
Yes.
These are some of the things that we can overcome. Would
Yeah.
this still be viable according to your view, Dr.?
If it can be arranged in such a way that the future can be seen, it can be good. It can be a good thing for all of us. If it can be arranged in such a way that I know at the end of 10 years, I'll get a house in, say, Nakuru, say, Kericho, say, Eldoret, okay? If the roadmap is very feasible, and then I have no problem. But the future is not feasible.
All right,
It
because
is not
we
clear.
also waiting for for that. Still on this speech,
Yeah.
The head of state didn't mention anything in regards to the impeachment. But if you read between the lines, he did talk about national unity and also told us as Kenyans that
Yeah.
we also need to pull together, not because of the regions that we come from.
Yeah.
I would like to pick your mind in regards to that.
Thank you so much. The speech from the president did touch on the impeachment indirectly.
Yes.
He talked about Mekatilili Wamenza being a nationalist, that Mekatilili fought for Kenyans, not the community. So he was touching on regarding Gachagua indirectly, to my view. Him being silent is very loud on the same. And I can say that his hand is in it. And if you can see his soldiers, they are working day and night. So the president knows a lot of things about the impeachment, and there are many things that we are not told behind the scenes. And if you hear what the impeached deputy president talked about when he was discharged from current, he talked about these things starting 1 year ago. So meaning that their relationship has not been good for the last 1 year. And to me, it will be messy, and it will be very noisy. Going forward, the way the impeachment was carried out, it was hurried. If there is a problem, the law talks about 14 days. It talked about 60 days in parliament. But if you can see, it did not even last for 1 day. And you could see from afar when the parliament impeached him, and they set a date for Friday, a special sitting on Friday. And then whatever was in the Senate, and they knew that by Thursday evening they will impeach the deputy president. They'll remove him in the Senate, and then on Friday they will receive the name, and they will forward the name to the president. They will receive the name from the president, and they will finish everything. So they knew very well. So this thing was planned, okay? But to me, the best was that the president should reconcile with his deputy and just move this country with other things, like economy, like the other things, like even this affordable housing, okay? Instead of these things. Remember, Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto, they did not work together in the last 5 years, 2018, 2022. But Uhuru Kenyatta did nothing to him. But look at the president and the deputy president, and they are Christian. Their wives are powerful Christians. the other one is a pastor, and the other one is a prayer warrior. What are we showing Kenyans? Which heaven are we going?
Okay.
You see.
Okay. I totally understand this whole issue is so quite emotive, and even the church did weigh in, I think, on Sunday. But Melly, picking from what Doc has talked about, in as much as even couples, it was from what the impeached deputy president said, that this issue started a year ago. So it's safe to say that the marriage was rosy only for a year. And there are other alternatives that are there, including mediation. I would like to pick your mind in regards to how this whole process was carried out.
I think first, by the president steering away from this discussion, he is obeying the fourth law of power, the 48 laws of power that say, always say less than is necessary.
But to be very
always
honest,
say less than is necessary.
But Melly, remember, he is the head of state. We are talking about his principal assistant, as enshrined in the Constitution. And Kenyans, because we voted for them, we should have been taken through to know that indeed the marriage is on the rocks, and this is where we are now. If it's a mediation from both sides, remember, just as Doc has talked about, the marriage for the president back then, Uhuru, and the president when he was deputy president, was not rosy for almost 5 years.
Now, I think one thing the president is trying to do is to avoid being appearing like he's interfering with the other arms of government. Remember, he's a symbol of national unity, and there's judiciary on this side, there's legislature on this side, and he's heading the executive, which is also like the umbrella of the entire the nation.
You're talking about the principle of separation of power.
Yes, the principle of separation of power. But you see, always speak, but sometimes silence is golden. But for
I'll
him,
still pick you on that, because just a minute, you're saying that the principle of separation of powers, indeed the parliament, the two houses did their job, and we are waiting now on the judiciary, and we have the executive. Are you saying that he did not have a hand in that?
Now, you know, there are some things you cannot contemplate that will happen. For example, your deputy has already been impeached. You don't have a deputy. You must pick one to safeguard the nation, because there will be a constitutional crisis if one is not picked. First, I want to agree with Daktari that this process was rushed. From the observation of things, but if you look at the days that the processes, the parliament staying up to midnight, the next day again almost going up to midnight, then after the conclusion of the event, remember Parliament and the government printers is just across the road. I would imagine you are finished with the business, everything is on the table. What do you want? The next thing is to tell the messenger, take this for a gazette notice across the road. And even the Senate is just within the same compound. So, and perhaps Senate had already briefed the senators that there would be an issue coming from the National Assembly. So let's stay alert. If it would have failed in the National Assembly, then the Senate would not have met. But if it, since it went through, you see, there is usually a communique that is sent out to the senators. Don't go out of Nairobi. There's an issue we want to discuss this day. If there is no issue, they are always also told that there is no issue. Now you can proceed on your personal things. And since the Senate was the jury, actually, where I saw unfairness in the Senate is even in the courts of law. If a victim or the person who has been brought before the court falls sick, you always see a judge saying, we suspend these hearings. I want this person to get medical attention. We will resume on a certain day. And Parliament has powers. They could even come up with a vote to extend the sittings to a certain day. Remember the words of our national anthem. Justice be our shield and defender. I want by the time, for example, Rigiji goes home, he has seen justice has been done. there should be no shortcuts. The president can sit pretty and wait until all these processes are executed. Even if the courts were to suspend and say, put aside the impeachment, there is enough time to come up with another one. If the processes were not followed, if the charges are justified, there is enough time. We are not in a hurry. It's not like Kenya wanahama tunaenda kwingine. We are here to stay. And if we are here to stay, let's give each other time. A marriage sometimes you can take a divorce case to court. But the court drags the case to see a way in which you can come together. You remember there is even some bishops who went to State House to unify the two. I'm told, I read a newspaper yesterday, a headline that was screaming that these people went there and they had the recording, another recording that we don't know, that incriminates the deputy. Then we said, if that was then why all these other charges? Why these other 11? Bring that one. And I say, in politics, what is said is not politics. What is not said is now the politics. There is something that Rigiji did that is not among these 11. Perhaps there is something.
Since we are having a constitutional moment now, and I'm quite sure, Doc, you will really acknowledge this, in 2017, after the elections, I think that is when we really tested the pillars of our constitution the most, when the Supreme Court annulled the presidential election and ordered for a fresh one. And this is the second time that we are really testing the foundation of our constitution in regards to the processes that are leading up to the impeachment. But looking at the effectiveness of, let's first of all go to the National Assembly, the effectiveness and the quickness that the matter was handled in court. The following day, he was impeached on Tuesday. Almost the whole house was there. But on Wednesday, we couldn't even find a quorum.
A quorum, yes.
If indeed we are putting, we are testing our constitution, which is very robust, and it's a very good thing that we are testing it. Just like Meli has mentioned, it should have taken the constitutional time that, or the frame, the time frame that is there. 60 plus 14 days brings a total of 74 days. But it was done in what, less than 12 hours?
Yes.
We were done. Thank you, Ben. In this country, to my view, we don't have 3 arms of government. We have 2. That is one, judiciary, and the second one is executive and parliament. They are together. To me, we have only 2 arms of government, judiciary, and then let's say executive. Executive, parliament is inside and senate.
Can you say execute parliament?
Yes, I think that one can.
Yes.
So we have only 2. And that is why, to me, there were a lot of instruction from the executive that can you finish this matter within a specified time? And that is why they hurried. A process of 74 days, 2 months and a half, will take around 6 hours, and you are done. And the name is there. The president was ready with the name. He did not even wait for parliament. He did not even wait for communication from the Senate. The following day, there was a name. And Uhuru Garden, they were ready for what we call swearing in, save for the orders from the court. So you can see, and you can qualify what I'm saying. There are only 2 arms of government. So our savior here is the judiciary. The judiciary, to me, 80% independent. 80% independent. So that is an A in the university. But Parliament and Senate, those guys are compromised. They are just waiting for orders. Listen to Amason Kingi saying, give me 5 minutes. And he went to his office for 30 minutes. What is he doing in this office? Waiting for instructions. Do like this, do like this. And then the senators are told, can you finish that matter? Amason Kingi comes and say, I have no powers. It is you, the senators, to decide. We've postponed it to Saturday, and then we finish that matter to give a chance to the Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua. And all of them, they voted that we are finishing this matter, and they finished. My friend, we have two arms of government. We are waiting for the court, and if you can see, Rigathi Gachagua will get some justice in court. Mm-hmm. Look at Mutuse, the performance. To me, that guy got an E. An E. A petitioner who cannot even answer questions. He did poorly. And you want to say that petition sailed in the parliament and sailed in the Senate, and the petitioner could not substantiate some of the allegation? Ben, even if it is you. So the court will give us a true meaning of justice. Mm. That is what I can say.
Yeah, Sammy, we are looking at, from what Doc is talking about, indeed, everywhere people are talking about the two houses being compromised. And this is something that we have seen even in previous governments, where the government agenda always takes a center stage. If indeed we are testing the tenets of our constitution, this is watering down that. If at all, the executive will always have power over the parliament.
Now, where we fail as a country is having the president as the leader of a political party, at the same time wielding a lot of financial power. You see, for example, the NGCDF comes from the national government. It is not constitutional, as a matter of fact. Mm. So perhaps if you look at the members of parliament who are towing the government side, there is development going on in their counties or in their constituencies. But these other rebellious members of parliament, nothing is going on. Perhaps that is the thing that has caught our parliament. Parliament should deem itself from being the puppets of executive. Parliament having two houses, I saw the Senate was a little bit mature in how they handle their issues. In how even they debate, you would see some maturity in the Senate. But I want to decipher some issues where Dr. Aria said, you can't defend. Remember, when drafting a bill, there are legal minds in Parliament who are employed to assist you as a member of Parliament to draft a bill, to come up with a motion, and sometimes you don't get enough time to be acquainted with what you have on the table. Mm-hmm. There are quite a number of lawyers that are employed in Parliament. And in drafting, this was a bill, this was a motion drafted for this member. Mutuse, his problem is that he didn't sit down to study his motion and get facts from every page. Sometimes he would even want somebody to help him open a page. And that was a failure on my side. But remember, we have sent members of parliament, and there is no serious qualification for you to be a member of parliament in this republic. No serious qualification. So even class 8 dropouts, whom, quote unquote, have issues with their papers, can come with a bill. And that is why they usually want somebody to second them, some other members of parliament to assist in explaining all these things. But crucifying Mutuse did his constitutional duty as a member of parliament. He has to check on the national government. Let us not be motive and angry with him. He was exercising his constitutional rights. If I realize that you are wrong, Trevor, I can take a case to court, and it is in the jury or at the court that will be able to explain ourselves. And in the minds of the jury, what they get from you is how they will vote or how they will give a ruling. Senate gave a ruling depending on what they had on paper. It was not all, every senator had a booklet of that charge, of that motion. So some read for themselves, some had the lawyers explaining them, some had Mutuse explaining it, and they could go through. There are things that we didn't see ourselves. Some were being even showcased on screen. For example, did you see even a single CR12 yourself? Do you have a copy of it?
No.
You had it, and some were shown on screen. The others which were not shown. So the members of parliament and the senators had the benefit of the documentation. Some of us did not, we just listened to what the media said or what was being aired live. There is a lot that we didn't read in that document. So perhaps that is how the judgment was made. But otherwise, the rush in doing things in this country has shown us we have a competent parliament that can deal with our issues if they are serious. But sometimes they don't take our issues seriously. They take others' issues seriously, especially when there's an M-Pesa going on or those toilet stories. This time I didn't hear. Perhaps they were disciplined, they ate with discipline. But I am sure that the deputy president deserves justice. He should be given enough time. We have even up to July 2027, before even elections, that these things can be determined and concluded. Otherwise, he should explore all relevant arms of government that can assist him get justice. Otherwise, we should not lynch him, and neither should we lynch the motion mover. He was exercising his constitutional rights.
All right. As he exercises his constitutional right, we have some ripple effect, of which, gentlemen, I want us to look at when we come back. We're going to be having a lot of intense and immense repercussions in regards to that political move. We are waiting for the judicial process itself, which we will be crossing over to Parliament, to the Milimani law courts to know exactly the political implications. Why I'm saying this is because we do remember when we had issues with President Uhuru and his deputy, who is the president now, President William Ruto. There are political implications in regards to that. So, gentlemen, prepare for that. You're indeed watching KBC News Check. Let's take a quick break. We'll be right back. But just to remind you, as soon as the impeached DP petitions begin at the Milimani law courts, we'll be crossing over for a listen in. Let's take a quick break. Welcome back to KBC News Check, and thank you so much indeed for keeping us company. We are looking at the state of the nation, and in this regards, of course, it's something that is on everyone's lips is the impeached DP petitions that are currently awaiting to be heard at the Milimani law courts. That's not only the thing that we are following up, we're also following up on the KCSE, which begins today. We're also following up on the affordable housing judgment, which is supposed to be at the Milimani law courts as well. And also, we also have the COP29 that is currently in Colombia. Those are some of the things that we are keeping tabs with. In case you just joined us, I'm in the company of Sami Meli, and just next to him we have Benjamin Koskei, Dr. Benjamin Koskei, who is a senior lecturer at the Kenyatta University. Well, before then, we were looking at the impeachment of the deputy president, that is Rigathi Gachagua, and we are waiting for the live link from the Milimani law courts, where we'll be crossing over to just hear some of these petitions. They're numbering about 30 now as we speak, up from about 23 last week. Gentlemen, before we took that break, I was mentioning that in regards to what has just happened in the impeachment of the deputy president, going to have a lot of ripple effects. Some are going to be intense in regards to the political formations. As a political analyst, how do you see it? Because that is the same thing that happened before 2022 general elections. The two principles had differed, and that is where the political alignment and formations came about. Are we likely to see the same thing?
Oh, yes. We will see a lot of political realignment. Number one, if Rigiji.
And just a minute, Doc. Those are live pictures from the Milimani locals, and as you can see, the impeached Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua is seated in the company. I can spot 2 or 3 lawyers there, and the court is quite full. We'll be crossing over to Milimani locals any moment now, as soon as this petition begins. But currently, we are here in studio and waiting for that for the judges at the Milimani locals.
Thank you so much. I can see Rigiji is now well, and I wish him all the best. And number 2, there will be a lot of realignment. If Rigiji will be sent home, number 1, he will form his own party, and he will canvanize the Kikuyu vote in totality.
That is if the courts clear him, because if they don't clear him, that it is not viable to vie for any political
In any case, yes, he will form his political party.
Either way.
Either way. Number 2, William Ruto will go to Nyanza and Western, and then Mount Kenya East, that is the Meru, and the Rift Valley, that is the Kalenjin votes, and Coast. And if Raila loses the AU post, it will be messy and noisy, because Raila will feel shortchanged. And Raila, to me, that is a person that you cannot trust in politics. To me, I don't know, to Meli. Raila can jump, and even he can go to Rigiji's side in the next election. And that is the real politician. He is a real survivor in this country, and he has survived all through, and he knows how to do that. So, Rigiji right now, where he is, but if he is not impeached, he will silently form his own party, and his constituency will not trust again William Ruto. Take it to the bank. Either way, he will not trust.
Still on the same, Doc.
Yeah.
As we have said, is that what we don't hear and what we don't see is where the politics truly lie.
It is true.
And I remember him in one of the televised interviews, he said that because he was so trusting, Mount Kenya as a region or as a voting bloc did not come on the table with an agreement or conditions or anything, whereas we see the likes of Speaker of the National Assembly, Dr. Moses Masika Wetangula, we've seen the likes of the Prime Cabinet Secretary, Musalia Mudavadi, we've seen the likes of PAR leader, who is the Speaker of the Senate. From what the DP said, and from the documents that he presented to court, is that these people had an agreement, including Mutua of the Maendeleo Chap-Chap, which actually sponsored the bill, the impeachment motion. Was it the undoing of the Mount Kenya region to not enter into that agreement in a political outfit? Remember, during the TNA, Uhuru had TNA, and the president, who was the deputy president back then, had URP.
It is true.
Was it the Mount Kenya region undoing?
To me, it was not undoing, because you remember during 2022, we had another party in Mount Kenya. That is for Uhuru Kenyatta, Jubilee Party.
And you also had the likes of Kionjuri as well.
Yes,
and even
you
Moses
can see.
Kuria. And Moses
even
Kuria.
Moses Kuria. And even Waria. Okay? And even Kabogo. So Rigiji saw that if I have another party, it will not have a lot of effect. So he joined hands with Ruto in the fate of Jubilee, the Jubilee of 2017. Okay? But he didn't foresee this thing coming. He didn't see that this is coming because of the fate, the Christian faith. You know faith, you don't reason. Okay? You just trust in God, that there is God in heaven. You don't reason. So Gachagua with Pastor Dorcas trusted Rachel and Ruto, the Christian faith, and say we are going to this war. And at the end of it, we will reach the mountain, and eventually we will be in heaven. But now look at this. He didn't foresee this. But going forward, he will form his own political party, And by the way, right now, Rigiji ako juu sana. Right now, where he is right now. In fact, let me tell you, if election comes in November, him and Ruto, he will beat Ruto. Right now. That is my analysis.
Meli, let's go back to the truthful man again. He said he's a truthful man, and on Sunday he mentioned that some of the reason that they were at loggerheads with his boss is because he brought about Adani, he brought about the affordable housing, which is also being challenged in court. But let's go to the truthfulness and honesty. When he was deputy president, Rigathi Gachagua did drum up support for the affordable housing, only now to come and castigate it. He talked about tapping in foreign investors, Adani being one of them. He's bringing up all those issues now. Is he really being truthful and honest?
Now, one thing, what I was thinking about all this scenario that we are seeing, there is too much going on in this country, and perhaps this is a decoy. The Rigathi issue could be a decoy that is diverting our attention from the Adani issues, diverting our attention from Shif and Shah. I heard somebody calling it Shisha. They are diverting our attention to the housing, from the housing issues that we had, and perhaps this will take some time, some sweet time of our attention, such that at the end of the day, things would have moved under the carpet. But the truthful man branded himself. He used to say things and we believe him. Even up to the other day, when he was speaking, he came through a press conference before he appeared in the National Assembly. He said quite a number of things that, quote unquote, ended up putting him in trouble. And I said before, always say less than is necessary. By being truthful, he was trying to win the hearts of Kenyans more than his boss was doing. And perhaps he was trying to outshine the master, and the master realized in good time that this guy, if I'm not careful, will take over my government. The truth we have, but when you hear what was happening in the National Assembly, some were truths and some were half-truths and some were exceedingly outright lies. And therefore, his truthfulness is still in question, but he had won their hearts. The crying of the deputy president's wife, Madam Pastor Dorcas Rigathi, crying before the camera, whipped our emotions. Even those who had hard hearts changed, because nobody has ever seen anywhere above the ruling class crying. And that is when I learned one thing: the rich also cry. The only cries I saw that were from that class is when President William Ruto did not believe that he was the deputy president. He couldn't believe that he would be sitting on a deputy president's chair in a place he used to go and book appointment. That was the last cry I saw. So this crying whipped our emotions. It has brought back sense to some of us who had very hard hearts and were unforgiving. But all this was I could see things like this coming from Rigathi's speeches all through. Sometimes even somebody would ask, why did he have to say that before the president? In fact, even guiding the president before the multitude. And you would see, if you see William doing this and smiling, my friend, you have hurt his heart. He is not smiling. And these things were planned, they were there, and he knew that it was coming. That is why he was even more bold towards the impeachment season. He was bolder and even courageous to handle some issues. The issue of Gen Z when he addressed us in Mombasa, one thing was, why was he addressing us from Mombasa when the president was addressing us from State House, Nairobi? It reminded me of a movie, The Designated Survivor. He was playing the designated survivor, that in case things happen here, I take over from Mombasa. And perhaps that also angered his boss. And you know, for those people who are close to William Ruto, will tell you that once William Ruto starts ignoring you, know that he never tells you that he has a problem with you. He just starts ignoring you. Know that you are in his wrong books. And if we are not careful, we'll go back to my first statement. This is a decoy. Something is going on in this country. Once we wake up, we will have Adani International Airport. Kenya Power will be Adani Power and Lighting Company Limited, because there are some things perhaps Rigathi was against. At the end of the day, why would you sell our heritage? Why would you privatize our heritage?
For 30 years.
For 30 years. Hata ingekuwa 10 years, at 5. Actually, by 2032, if he's living, we would have somebody else to take over from that. But giving somebody, imagine Troy, at this time, let me assume you are 39. In 30 years, you'll be 69.
Actually, in the next 30 years, I'll be in my 40s. In my 70s.
Yeah, you'll be actually 70. Utakuwa una sign in kwa pesa ya wazee. 30 years is a lot of time to give out a national heritage like that.
All right. Since somebody can argue that that has not been put into pen and paper yet, I will still pose the same question I posed to Doc in regards to how do you see the political formations coming up. But before you answer that, allow me to remind our viewers that those are live pictures from the Milimani Law Courts, and as I can see, the court is quite full. We're expecting the petitions in regards to the impeachment of impeached Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua will be heard by a 3-judge bench. I can see the likes of lawyers Kibe Mungai, I can see lawyer Ndegwa Njiru, I can see the former UDA SecGen Cleophas Malala, I can see the brilliant lawyer Ongoya, we can even see the Kiambu woman representative, the likes of lawyer Danstan Omari, I can see also Ndegwa Njiru, also a brilliant lawyer, and also some politicians here and there. I've seen the likes of Dan Manzo, who is a senator, and we are waiting for that case to be heard and determined. So as soon as the judges do get into that law court, we will be crossing over. So back to you, Meli. What do you think are the political ramifications of such a move in regards to the DP? We've saw 2017, a lot of new alignments.
Now, we had a disclaimer from the word go. Musiguse Murema. And the truthful man was saying that. That mountain has been shaken. That mountain, the volcano and the magma that is bubbling in that mountain, I don't know what we will need an atomic bomb to take it back. First, things first. William should come out, President William Ruto should come out and reunite the country. Assure us that the processes going on are constitutional processes, calm down the country, and at the end of the day, I don't know what he will have to do to bring back the mountain that he was told not to touch. That mountain is slowly shifting. Seismic activity down on the tectonic plates of the mountain are actually rumbling and shifting. We might have a serious rift that he will have to build a serious bridge to go back to the mountain. Otherwise, if that doesn't happen, or if this happens and Rigathi goes home, the mountain has gone home with him. The mountain will be looking at Rigathi to give it direction. Where next? What President William Ruto should do right now, if that happens, put all his resources, human and supernatural, on the presidents of Africa to vote in Honorable Raila Odinga to be the AU chairman. Then he will bring the lake, which he will use the water of the lake to calm the mountain. Otherwise, this mountain, the volcanic eruption that is there, has never been had in the history of this world. These people are united. I have never seen a people united like the people of the mountain.
All right, and still on the same, let's be very honest. Since the finance bill, the ground has been hostile.
Yeah.
True or false?
True.
In either way, whether the DP was impeached or not, the ground was still hostile because of the finance bill. And of course, a number of Kenyans have mentioned, you told us there's a hustler government, you told us Mama Mboga, you told us there's that hostility on the ground. And they say vitu kwa ground is different. Now, this is something else that has come, of which, like you said, the tectonic plates are rumbling. Where does this leave Kenyans as well? We also have to remember that Kenyans were not quite happy.
Now, the Kenyans should understand one thing, is that mwanasiasa si mwenzako. A politician is not your fellow, your peer. Because these people can unite on issues that are bedeviling them and ignore you. Let's not whip our emotions and follow the politicians' directions. We should be sober. Remember that this country is one united country called Kenya. We are Kenyans. Since President William Ruto took over, not even a single plate increased in my home. The size of ugali that we cook is still the same. The sugar that we put in our tea has always remained 2 spoonfuls per cup. It has never changed. And that is why what we should and look at is not where the president comes from. Because Bwana Kosgei here can tell you, Daktari, that where he comes from, in fact, perhaps the roads are even worse than they were before. What I am looking forward to is even having a Giriama president, a Rebef president, a Somali president, a Taita president, a Luya president, but somebody who works. We should look forward to a day when Kenyans will have a clear objectives on their election of who to rule them or who will lead them. Otherwise, Kenya is a unified country. We should not whip emotions into what is affecting politicians, because at the end of the day, when you sleep angry, he doesn't send you tea, he doesn't send you soap to wash your clothes, but what we want from politicians is to give us development. I want, when I leave my home, I have a good road, I have affordable fuel, I can live securely. I don't need security. Because what even the deputy president, impeached deputy president, was trying to send a message is, we are insecure in this country. That is why he needed security. From who? From us. He feared us. He fears us. That is why he cries for security. And I'm wondering, look at when the president was in the US, he was crossing the streets. I could see him crossing the streets of New York. There's even a small girl who bumped into him and he pushed her aside. Even the security were not there. I'm looking forward to a day we shop here at Quickmart with the president. Namuona anashika nini na mimi niko na yangu.
And our governors wakipanda basi,
and the
just like they do in Europe.
Buses.
And since from what I've seen is that the court is almost in session. Okay. Let's go back to something you mentioned, and it's something that has come up not only this year. Some people have claimed that Parliament is an extension of the executive. Let's look at the MPs. After the finance bill, Kenyans were very hostile, and actually some were chased away, and some had to wear T-shirts saying "Forgive us." But let's be very honest: the leaders that we have is a true reflection of who we are. You remember the finance bill? They voted yes, despite Kenyans saying no. And then the president comes out, flanked by the MPs, and said that, indeed, that's it. We're not going to go on with the finance bill. How do we ensure that Parliament is not an extension of the executive? But unfortunately, my director, Mugo Kariuki, said informs me that we have to go to Milimani Law Courts. Sami Meli, a governance expert, just next to him. We have the Dr. Benjamin Koskei, lecturer at the Kenyatta University, and also a political analyst. Thank you so much, Injiri, for joining us. Let's cross over to Milimani Law Courts and follow up on the impeached DP petition. And